Hi and welcome back. Okay, we did make it out of that cold snap without losing the electricity, but I do fear for my heating bill. And this is why we do preserve our food. We find them on sale. We will go ahead and can everything up, and whenever we lose electricity or are recovering from the electric bill thereof, we dive into these. Today is going to be Water Bath 101, and we're going to go ahead and go over some of the equipment that you may need. Believe it or not, you're not going to need that much. This is a method that the entire world uses. Only in America does anybody have access to pressure canners. There are countries who are starting to get into pressure canning only because of the face group that I am associated with. That is the Rebel Canning Group, or Canning Rebels. That's exactly what it's called, Canning Rebels. There's a whole bunch of groups with the name Rebel. Make sure you get the right one. Now, the Amish water baths, they don't do pressure canning. The rest of the world water baths, they water bath vegetables, meats, they pickle everything, they preserve everything for the winter. They don't have access to pressure canners. Only in America is it illegal to water bath low acid foods. I have been water bathing since I was in my 20s. I helped my mom and my grandmother water bath since I was born. Only in the past couple of years have I gotten into the pressure canning. Pressure canning does take less time. Instead of 90 minutes, you have 3 hours. So it's less time, but it does exactly the same thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Inside of this jar, whenever you have food in it and it is sealed, you have the lid on it and there's nothing coming out. No matter what the temperature is on the outside, it is hotter on the inside. It becomes its own enclave. If you know what an enclave is that is what they use to sterilize medical equipment. The inside needs to come up to a certain temperature to be able to kill all the bad bugs. There is always a risk for the lid to unseal. That doesn't mean that this isn't good. It just means that it unsealed and all the bad bugs went back into it. With that pressure that the outside temperature creates on the inside of this jar, it's the reason why you need quality jars. Whether you're pressure canning, oven canning, open kettle, water bathing, anything, must have quality jars, because if you get the really cheap jars, you're going to have a lot more breakage, a lot more food loss, and possibly even cutting yourself trying to clean everything up. Equipment. Everybody has seen this for sale in the stores, Walmart particularly. If you notice, and I've used this a couple of times, I have a smaller stock pot. You can get these anywhere. I think I paid $10 for it. Both of these you can water bath in. The only difference between the two, besides the obvious, smaller for smaller batches, as well as less water, so less heating time. In this, there is a rack to put your jars on. The reason why you need a little bit of space between your jars and the bottom of the rack is because whenever the jars are boiling, they're going to move around. They're going to go up and down, side to side. And you don't want to shock your jars to where they're going to break from the bottom. If you've ever seen a jar that just has the bottom missing on the jar, that means it hit the bottom and broke the jar. That's what this does. What you can do with the smaller pot, since it's just a regular stock pot, it's for food, but you can also designate it to do smaller batches. It does not come with anything for the bottom. Now you can, if you have one, to purchase one from a pressure canning website, one of those round things with the holes at the bottom. You can buy one of those so long as it fits in here. Or you can use a wash rag. Put it in here, put it on the bottom, and make it even as best as possible, and then you can put your jars on the rack. We'll also add cushioning to help prevent the bottoms from falling out. Now with any type of cooking, because we're going to be boiling water, watch for the steam. Okay, you can burn yourself with the steam. Hot water is pretty obvious, so make sure there's no children that can grab up here or animals that it can be dropped on. And please don't burn yourself. Always open the pot away from you, not towards you. And this should be obvious. This should be done with anything that you do in the kitchen. If you're cooking something, always away from you, because you don't want it going into your face. You can burn your eyes, you can burn your nose, it can go into your lungs, and you can get internal burning in your esophagus if it's too strong. It depends on how sensitive you are. But just like with everything else, let's go ahead and talk about the food. This is the FDA guidelines, and just about every state follows these. I do believe some countries follow these as well, because it really depends on the timing. Now, foods that are 4.6 of a pH level or higher is recommended for pressure canning. Anything 4.6 and below, it doesn't need to be pressure canned. You can just safely water bath. There is a reason why some recipes say add lemon juice. It actually gets the pH as close to 4.6 as possible. Not all whenever you're making spaghetti sauce, not all tomatoes are created equal. There are tomatoes with 4.6 or lower, and those are perfectly safe to water bath. You don't need to add the lemon juice. There are other tomatoes that are higher than 4.6 and actually need the citric acid either in the lemon or whatever you add. Now you can add just citric acid to it. It'll still have that tangy, citrusy taste to it. But if you don't have citric acid, lemons, sometimes limes, oranges aren't that acidic, but maybe some zest. Really depends on your taste. Most people use just lemon juice, and that's perfectly fine, because what happens is that the pH is in such a toxic level for the bad bugs that get into the jar that they die inside of the jar. It's not just the heat that helps. with killing those if you water bath for such a short time. The acid helps in that way. Now, for anything 4.6 and above, it actually asks for pressure canning. That's the reason why you water bath for 3 hours for low pH foods. I have some carrots here. We're going to go ahead and water bath these. And we're going to water bath those for 3 hours. Now, if you don't know what the pH level for your food is, they sell those little strips everywhere. You can get them on Amazon. I do believe I bought a few off of Temu. If you add it to whatever order you have, they're not expensive. It will help you determine if your food is at the correct level or not. I have some somewhere, and watch after I upload this video. I'll find out where I put them. Always happens. But I do recommend getting those, especially if you're new to canning. That way you can determine if it needs acid, or if it needs to be pressure canned, or just water bathed for a lot longer. Okay. Hi. Hi. It's 30 degrees outside. Let's keep the doors closed, please. Now, if you try to Google water bathing carrots, you're going to get a lot of you can't. I tell you, you can. It's been done for generations. Even though my grandmother had access to a pressure cooker, she never really used it. She just water bathed everything. For her, it was more economical because at the time, her house ran on propane, and propane was pretty cheap. She had a water well, so she didn't have a water bill, and a septic tank. I think they put the garbage out once a month for all the garbage that needed to be, actual garbage. Everything else was recycled. Food was put out behind the barn that they converted into a garage for the animals to get and to compost. And then I think all the paper was used to burn. And everything else went into a regular trash can. They really didn't have any type of recycling back then. There was no recycling. There was no anything like that. First things first is we're going to go ahead and remove the plant that I am soaking. Now I'm using filtered water. I do this myself. I actually have a distiller because there is so much garbage in our water system that it took 3 weeks for our systems drinking this type of water and using it for coffee. It took 3 weeks to get out all the garbage out of our system. And that was a heck of a 3 weeks. Hi. Excuse me. And you're gonna put the lids on, wipe the rims, put the lids on, just like you would do normally. And since we're only doing 2 jars, we're going to use the smaller stock pot. Why heat this much up whenever you can heat this much up? Towel on the bottom, put your jars in, add the water. I'm going to be using some muslin this time. Now you want this covered about 2 inches above the tops of the lids. So about up to here. And then we're going to boil it at a hard rolling boil for 3 hours. And it's going to take a while. So I'll be back in a YouTube minute. All right, so there is going to be some evaporation. You're boiling water. The water is going to disappear. Okay, what you want to do is have another pot right next to it with hot, close to boiling water. So that way you can re-add the hot water to the boiling water. So that way it doesn't cool down so much and actually cracks your jars. And it may make a little bit of noise, and that's fine. Just keep an eye on it and make sure that the water stays above the lids. It's been boiling for about 30 minutes. Alright, it's been 3 hours since we started. Still boiling. We're going to turn it off. See, there's bubbles, just like if it was pressure cooked. Here's the second one. Basically, you're still pressure canning. It's a long period of time, and sometimes the color of the vegetables or the meat, whatever you're making, comes out a little bit better whenever it comes to water bathing. You can add salt to this, you can add spices. You're preserving food, so that way it lasts longer. And remember, it's the length of the water bath does not determine whether the lids seal or not. The lids are going to seal. It's the pH, and it's the wanting to kill the germs that are going to get into the jars. You want those dead. This is how you do it. Another advantage of water bathing versus pressure canning is that if you're doing a combination, say we do the carrots, but then we have some strawberries we want to preserve, make jelly or whatnot. Those are acidic enough to where you only water bath them for 20 minutes. Well, this way you can actually lift the lids off and take the strawberries off while you're still water bathing the carrots. With pressure canning, you don't have that advantage. You have to wait for the entire canning session to finish all at once. Well, that's going to be it for this week. We'll keep on doing safety and preserving, different types of preserving, different types of putting food away for whenever you can find them on sales or if you go hunting. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.